Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. On Friday, March the 6th, the snow is melting in Little Rock. We had 6 inches of snow and ice yesterday, but we all were able to get to work. The news today in Arkansas, I think, leads again with Representative Justin Harris, the Republican from West Fork. We broke the story last week that Justin Harris had adopted 2 children. After several months of custody of them, turned them over to somebody else who was a teacher at his school. That person later raped one of the children and is now serving a 40-year prison sentence. What was not known at the time was that, in fact, these were Harris's children at the time the man was charged. But a lot more is yet to be learned about this case. Justin Harris issued a brief statement yesterday through his attorney, said a terrible injustice had been done to him and his family in this matter. More so to him, I guess, than the child who was raped. There'll be a news conference this afternoon at 3:30. We'll be covering that. Be sure and come back to our blog and Facebook and Twitter accounts to find news of that, and we hope to have a video presentation of what Justin Harris has to say as well. He's going to throw the Department of Human Services under the bus. He's going to say that he didn't get the proper support he needed. He's going to say they threatened him with an abandonment charge rather than helping him with difficult children. Benji Hardy's reporting is going to show that the facts are somewhat different than that Justin Harris did not take the children back to DHS as he was able to do, that in fact the adoption may have occurred in part faster than it should have because of political pressure from Justin Harris, who sits on the Child Affairs Subcommittee at the legislature and has influence over the budget of the Department of Human Services. We're going to also reveal information today that there was a 3rd daughter adopted by Justin Harris that has not been talked about previously, and there are questions about what happened to her and how her case was handled. There's a lot more to know. This story's exploded nationwide. It's getting a tremendous amount of attention. There's a great deal of interest in the welfare of children, and I think Justin Harris probably would do better to open up to full inspection all of the records that the state has about this case rather than attempting to make scapegoats of a state agency that worked on the case. The governor, Asa Hutchinson, in fact, expanded his interest in this case yesterday with a state that says he's going to find out everything he can about the handling of this case by DHS, and so perhaps there'll be some accountability from that end. 2 pieces of legislation now penned in the legislature to stop the practice of what's called rehoming. Others have said that's a terrible euphemism for the phrase of abandoning children or of child trading, and so I think we're going to get a full debate of this in the legislature. Elsewhere, there's good news from the governor's office. He was able to beat back an effort by the highway lobby to steal general revenues for highway construction. We may need more money for highway construction. The governor felt we couldn't pay for it by taking it away from other programs without some tax increase of another sort. Nobody's in the mood for a tax increase, which brings to mind another interesting money issue. The soft drink lobby has been mad for going on nearly 20 years now about the soft drink tax passed by Governor Jim Guy Tucker in 1994 to support Medicaid. They're desperate to get it removed from the books. They've got a bill pending that will start to reduce the tax and what they hope will be eventual removal of it. The interesting thing is they have not yet proposed a way to pay for the loss of that money. It produces, their tax cut would cut spending by $5 million a year, but that money goes into the Medicaid Trust Fund, which is matched by the federal government 2.5 times to 1. So we're talking about a huge chunk out of the Medicaid budget unless the money is replaced somewhere else. There's talk that the soft drink lobby is talking about a tax on Go phones, those cheap phones that you can fill up with minutes as you need. Not a very good idea. I think if you bring the phone companies into the battle against the soft drink companies, we really might have a battle of giants. Also at the legislature, uncovered news of a quiet little piece of action by Jason Rapert, the senator from Conway. Another one of these cases where Republicans like local control except when they don't like local control. Rapert has a bill that would put regulation of transportation network companies, Uber and Lyft and those sorts of car hire services, under the Arkansas Public Service Commission. It would prevent cities from regulating such services and would prevent cities from collecting a fee from them like they do from taxi cabs. As I say, no local control there. They like a statism in this case. The House today decided to stop the use of the Common Core test, the so-called PARCC test, after it's administered this year. This is about a move that's going to lead Arkansas eventually perhaps away from its commitment to the Common Core curriculum standards. The governor's appointed a task force to do something about that. On the national scene, interesting little thing dug up by a correspondent of ours in Washington. French Hill, the congressman from Little Rock, hadn't been in office long, but he's already learned the ways of Washington. He voted to end subsidies for Amtrak, the rail passenger service, on an amendment offered by a fellow Republican. But when the bill came up for final passage, he voted for the money. So he can go to one audience and say, hey, I voted to stop money for Amtrak. And then he can go to a rail fans audience and say, hey, I voted to keep Amtrak money. What's the problem here? So in any event, having it both ways, most politicians like to do that if they can. Finally, I mentioned yesterday that Mike Beebe is going to work for a big law firm as a consultant. They forgot to mention at the time they announced his hiring that at that moment Mike Beebe didn't have a law license. His license went inactive in 2007 when he became governor. Not to worry, it's a small detail. The Supreme Court committee that handles such things has been scurrying this week to get him back legitimate again, but the ICE has kept him away from the office. We'll be updating the Justin Harris case. Be sure to check into our blog for that news. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.